Elijah. I'm sorry, I don't remember your last name.
Elijah Perry.
Elijah Perry. I thought so, but I didn't want to like embarrass myself. Okay. Hi everyone. We're here with Elijah Perry for our Storytellers Creator of the Month interview. Megan, take it away.
I'm Megan. This is Heather, and we will be conducting the interview. Yeah, we're with Elijah Perry. Elijah is the director and producer at CITC Productions, the film studio that produced the short film Sir Kendrick of Penwell, which last year won the Best Original Music Score at the Christian Worldview Film Festival. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty fun. So, hi, Elijah.
Hey.
Okay. So we're gonna get right to it and get started. First question we have is, you're a director and a producer. So like from the director side of things, what is your like style? What's your method? Like how do you like to run your set or to like encourage certain performances out of your actors? How do you do it?
Good question. Me as a director, kind of like my style as far as just like my preferred, if we want to talk about just like my style of filmmaking, especially when it comes to like creative cinematography and like acting. I've always been a fan of like the Christopher Nolan films, so just a kind of a darker style of filmmaking. You could call it gritty. So I kind of like that. But like as far as just like my method of directing, I have a lot of times I've just worked with like siblings. I've never worked outside of my family a whole lot with a few different people. I've never conducted a larger set before. Which is interesting because our next film coming up I'll be working with a bigger team with lots of people outside of my family, so that's going to be an interesting experience. But as far as just conducting things on set, I've always been a very run and gun type director so far because it's just like working with siblings we're on a very limited time, and it works for us because my siblings, Jacob is my DP, and me and him communicate so well. And he seems to know exactly what I want because we discuss things beforehand. And then on set, we're just like, okay, this works and this doesn't, and just film this. We've had shot lists before, but like you normally just throw that out the window on set on ours because you get out in the woods and it's just like the location doesn't look like what you wrote in the script. And you're like, you know what? It's just like we'll just find what works. But I know on a bigger team that doesn't work because you're having to communicate with so many different people on a set. So I'm trying to learn how to communicate well with others, which is a good skill to have.
It is, yeah. That's the fine because I have a little bit of experience with that. I worked with siblings as a director, and yeah, it'll be fine. Because those other people, it turns out that siblings really are people, and if you can deal with your siblings, then you can deal with other people too. So, yeah, that's cool.
So, right before we started, Elijah told us that his film was funded on Kickstarter.
That's right.
So that's awesome.
Kickstarter campaign.
So tell us about the film and the story behind it, how it got, fully funded all the way, and everything about the film and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. Well, the first beginnings of where this film started was back in 2016 in October, and it was like me sitting down and I'm doing a creative brainstorm. I'm just like, okay, what's next? I just finished making Sir Kendrick of Penwell, and it's just like I'm trying to move on. It's like, okay, what's the next project? And I got the idea of the story of Hero popped into my head. And I was just like, okay, I can build on this. It just starts with a little stupid idea. That's all stories are. They're just one little stupid idea or scene that's in your head. And you're like, oh, I can build off this. And then, so I sat down and started writing. And everything just came to me. It's like as I wrote it down, it's just like everything flowed out onto the paper. It just took me about a week to write the whole thing. And of course, I did a lot of editing afterward. But yeah, it was just the more I wrote, the more I just felt God leading me towards the story. Like, I was writing it to challenge people in certain areas of their lives, but as I wrote it, it was challenging me in my own life. And so I've learned a lot. And after finishing the script, we started a fundraiser back in January of 2018. Excuse me. I started writing in October of 2017, and we put up the Kickstarter in 2018, January. Sorry, got those years mixed up. I can hardly bring myself to believe it's 2019. So we got a Kickstarter up for it in January 2018, excuse me. And nothing just worked out. We weren't ready to film it. The Kickstarter didn't do well. And I'm just like, I'm wondering, it's like, okay, well, if we're supposed to make this film, then what's going on? And so I just took the opportunity to start rewriting a lot of things and then just kind of investing more and more time into the story. And so I've done that over this entire year, just refining it and also working on a couple different projects in the process to keep my skills honed. And so it was just over this past year, and I started to get more ideas for different things I could add to just enhance the story. And so it wasn't until December I started getting team members together to help make the project come to life. More professional people. And so we started the Kickstarter at the beginning of January of this year. Again, put it back up. Just really praying that God's will would be done in it, and that if we're supposed to make this film now, that it would get funded. And so we've worked really hard over the past month. We're a little bit lazy at the very beginning of the month, but this past month we've really rallied. And it's just amazing to see God work and bring so many different people together to help fund it. You know, I've just been blown away. You know, it's every film that I've made, I've always seen God's hand in it, no matter what it was. If it was a small thing, normally it was big things. I've learned so many different lessons. There's just so many different stories from each set that I'm just like, I step back and I'm like, you know what? That was completely out of our power. You know, we could have done nothing to make that work, but it did. You know. So yeah, the story of Hero, it follows a girl named Amelia. She lives in Tennessee, growing up with her dad and her brother. Her mom died in a car accident about a year ago. And she is going through life just struggling with anger and just wondering why that her mother gone, because of the way that she died. She was hit by a driver. And so Amelia really struggles with the emotional impact of losing her mom. And so the story just focuses in on how much a father's love for his children can really affect their futures. And so it focuses in on that subject. But because so many people have asked me to give just like more descriptive description of the storyline, but I can't, because it's such what word should I use? It's a very touchy script. It's like hard to give a description without giving a lot of like the storyline, because there's some big plot twists and plot points that are like the main focus of the film. And so I just try and do my best to explain at least what the film's about.
Sounds good. Don't want to give too much away. I can understand. I get that too. I have nightmares of spoilers. I can't handle spoilers.
I do the same thing with trailers. I hate trailers that give away the movie, because then I don't want to watch the movie. So I've always been the fan of trailers that people put together that want to make you watch the film. It's like makes it look interesting, but they don't give a ton of like plot points away.
Yeah, that's an awesome style. It's great.
Yep.
Here's your question.
So you mentioned like you have so many stories to tell from set. So what one specifically is there that you can tell us?
There is definitely one in specific. It was from the Secundica Pinwheel set. So we filmed for Secundica Pinwheel. One of the locations was at Fall Creek Falls State Park. in Tennessee. Beautiful location. We had scouted it earlier before we planned to film there, and we're just blown away by the scenery of it. And so we were just like, okay, we got to get permission to film here. You have to go through so many things to the state, you know, the Tennessee Commission of Music and Film. So you have to have like insurance and stuff to be able to film there. So we got all that, but it was coming down to the wire, and we were trying to get them to get the heads of the commission to sign it. There has to be 2 different people that sign it for you to be able to have permission to film there. And our agent that was working for us, she was just working tirelessly day and night to get us ready to film there. So we filmed like, it was 2 different days beforehand. And it was the 3rd day that we'd scheduled that we were supposed to go there and shoot, because the 2 days following that, which was the rest of the shoot, it was supposed to rain, and we needed good weather on the day that we shot there. And so we were like, we could push it back, but it's going to ruin that scene. It was supposed to rain on the next 2 days. So we were like, what do we do? They hadn't given us permission. They said, you're not supposed to film there yet. And so it was the night before that we were supposed to get, we had to leave to get there early in the morning. So we would have had to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was about a 3.5-hour drive. So we needed to get there to be able to set up everything and get ready to shoot. And it was completely out of our hands. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know if we were going to get permission to even shoot there at all. And we're like, what do we do? And so we prayed about it and just asked God, you know, what do you want us to do? What are we supposed to do? And we just decided to trust him. And we're like, we're getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and we're driving there. And we're going to just see what God does. Well, we're driving there the next morning. We're 5 minutes from reaching the Fall Creek Falls. And we get an email from our agent saying that we had gotten permission to film there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just crazy stories like that. That's probably my favorite. Just, it blows me away every time I tell it, because I see how much God worked through the project just by that.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That sounds like a pretty harrowing experience. Like, like someone would be hyperventilating. I don't know. That would be tough. All right. So, can you share your creative journey? Like how you got from how you got to where you are now, when you discovered you had a passion for directing and producing, like how all that got started? Yeah.
It was back, the first signs of us being interested in filmmaking, me and my siblings, was back in 2014. It was the summer of 2014. And my sister Hava, who is, I don't know what age she was younger, way younger than she is now. She's probably like 11. I don't remember. It was 5 years ago, going on 5. So she would have been, 11. So she comes to me and just like, it's a boring summer. We're just like, we're doing nothing. And she's just like, why don't we just go out and make a movie? I'm just like, that's a good idea. Now, before that, I started writing when I was 5, but I started novel writing when I was 10. And so that's kind of where I started like storytelling, but I wasn't ever interested in filmmaking until 2014. And even then we were just making backyard films. So we made a backyard film, it was medieval, believe it or not. We put that together and we were so proud of it. It was terrible. We were proud of it. And so we decided we wanted to make another short film. And so that winter, it was actually that fall and winter, we started filming another medieval short film, just all of our siblings. We never finished that, but we kind of put it together to make it work. And it was fun. We had fun with that. But it was in January of 2015. A local music artist was making a music video. And we'd known her for several years. She was making a music video and she needed people to be in it. And so she invited our entire family to be a part of the music video. And at first I was just like, it doesn't sound that interesting. But I went, our whole family went. And it was on that set, watching the director and the cinematographer and the team. the camera team and stuff working together. I saw myself in the director, in that director. I could see myself doing what he was doing. And it was the weirdest thing. It was like a light bulb clicked on. It was like, this is what you got to do. This is what you want to do. That was the most exciting day of my life almost. It was just like, yeah, I can't explain it. It's just like a fire was burning inside of me after that. And so we finished up that day. I got to act as an extra in the music video. So I came home and I was just like, I'm gonna make films. And so I drugged my siblings along with me, whether they liked it or not. And so not sure, but Chuck Black, who is the author of the Kingdom series and Knights of Eritrea, which Sir Kendrick Pimhole was based off one of those books. Chuck Black, the author, has a contest every year for people to make short videos to enter. And they have judges, a panel of judges who score them, and then they have like little awards that they give out. So we were fans of the Kingdom series, and we're like, hey, let's make a fan film to one of his books, and let's enter it into that. So we procrastinated and put it off till the last minute, till like 2 weeks before the deadline. And finally, we went and filmed something, put it together in 2 weeks, and entered it, and it won honorable mention. And so after that, we wrote our first original script and filmed it, which is called The Rise of Darkness. And we put that out in April of 2017, I believe. Yes. Or was it 16? No, it was 2016. I get the years so mixed up. So yeah, after that, we continued entering Chuck Black's video contest for the past 2-3 years. And making original short films in between there, just writing our own and making them. And Sir Kendrick Pimwell, of course, won first place in Chuck Black's video contest, which is exciting. And after that, of course, is the story of Hero, which is what we're working towards making now.
All righty, that sounds pretty cool. That's quite the journey, going from one to the other, and it's just kind of building epic climax.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a movie.
Yeah, it's now been 4 years since that music video set that I first gained the passion for filmmaking. So
that's actually not bad for 4 years. Like 4 years, and then your first Kickstarter campaign is one, and you're kind of getting into the bigger side of things. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Alrighty, I think this brings us to the rapid fire round. That's what we're gonna. That's where we're gonna. I wish we had some ominous music, so we don't. So just picture it, okay? Drums, rapid fire round.
Got it. I hear it.
This is what we're doing. We are going to issue an impossible challenge, but it's fun. That's why we do it every time. If you've ever seen any of our previous Creator of the Month videos, every time we do this. Okay, it will be. We will give Elijah 90 seconds to answer 14 questions. Nobody's ever done this. Some people have come closer than others. No one's ever done it. But here we go. I'm going to do a countdown. Don't worry. So everybody knows when we're starting. Okay.
Ready? You have the first question.
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup.
One place you'd hate to film.
What?
One place you'd hate to film.
In the desert.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Robin Hood or King Arthur?
Robin Hood.
Who will win the Super Bowl today?
Patriots.
Star Wars 8, good, bad, or ugly?
It was ugly.
Would you rather direct Miss Piggy, Olaf, or Jar Jar Binks?
Olaf.
Favorite camera to use?
Panasonic GH4.
Favorite Pixar film?
Big Hero 6.
Very important question. How impossible is it to make a good film that we're not in?
Probably impossible.
Good
Would you
answer.
rather fly or turn invisible?
Fly.
Narnia or Middle Earth?
Narnia.
Last state you visited?
Virginia.
Jeep or sports car?
Sports car.
There you go.
Wow, let the record show, everybody.
A minute and 10 seconds.
We had time to spare. A minute, 10 seconds. You had a minute, 30 seconds. 20 seconds early. You are the first one, not only to make it, but to get that close to the, or far, I guess, from the end time. There you go. It's been done. It's been done. Okay, that's pretty cool.
I feel honored to be the first person to do it.
Well, then we'll have to tell the next person to interview that they're going to have to do it in less than a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah,
just to see if they beat,
then they're going to have to beat the record. A minute, 10 seconds.
We'll make that a thing. Beat the record.
Beat the record.
All right,
Megan, subtitle, rapid fire round. Beat the record. Okay, yeah, we already asked that one.
Okay, so what's the hardest part about directing?
Wow, that is a very broad question. And it's a hard question too. The hardest probably for me, I guess because I haven't done it as much, is probably just knowing exactly what I want and being able to clearly communicate that to everybody around me. Because it is hard, because sometimes you have to make compromises on set because, you know, you have your vision of how you want to turn out. And sometimes it just isn't going to work, obviously. You may not have a correct location, and you're like, well, what do we do? Sometimes you have to cut things from the script. It's hard because that's your baby. You know, you wrote that, that's your baby. You want it to turn out exactly how you wrote it, but it won't. It will never. And so that's probably the hardest thing for me, is just like be able to communicate my vision, but also having to compromise it for the better of the team. Because as a director, I'm so creatively minded, and I can be stubborn. I can be very stubborn and stuck in what I want. And so.
So what is the funnest part about directing? This is the other side of it.
Definitely the seeing everything come together. That's just everything that you've envisioned. It's like seeing everything finally come together. The faces to the characters that you wrote, the locations that you've written in, just the moments, those emotional moments that you wrote into the script, seeing those come to life on set, and you just being like, wow, it's everything that I hoped it would be, or it's not quite I would hope it would be, or it's better than I hoped it would be. There's been a lot of moments like that. So that's probably the most fun part of directing.
Alrighty. What is your dream project? Like,
wow.
The top movie, peak of your career, biggest budget, let's say limitless. What would your dream project be?
Wow. Probably dream project, believe it or not, would probably be a smaller budget, but be able to prove to people that you can make a very, very excellent film on a smaller budget. So probably, I mean, when I say small budget, it's like smaller compared to Hollywood. So probably like $500,000 to $1 million budget. Definitely always medieval for life, medieval fantasy for life. That's who I am. That's who I've grown up. That's what I've grown up with, reading books and stuff, and I've always been fascinated by it. So definitely a very creative medieval fantasy project that invests so much into the characters, for sure.
There you go. That sounds pretty cool. I like the medieval thing going here. That's pretty. There's not a whole lot of that out there.
No, anytime someone's made a King Arthur movie, they've like if King Arthur was still
He's like
living,
a bad guy or something.
he could sue for defamation of character for every movie that's like on every recent movie that's been made about him, by Hollywood, of course. But you know.
So there you go. Heather's dream project. You have to make a King Arthur movie that she likes.
I haven't really seen any.
But she saw the trailers, that's enough.
In rather, they were always really bad. So do you have any advice to anyone like interested in directing? Any tidbits?
Yeah, definitely. It's just like me giving advice to my younger self. let's see. Definitely for younger directors, for sure, don't try and do anything that you can't capably do. I've seen so many young filmmakers make this mistake, directors and stuff, like have this big vision for what they want. It's like, oh, we got to make this epic. It's like, okay, if you have the resources to make it epic, go make it epic. But if it's like a car crashing and you can't do a car crashing for real, you need to cut that out of your script. Just, in other words, what resources you have available to you that you can do in excellence, use that to your advantage, because it's your best advantage. It's like, natural light is free. Go shoot in natural light. It's like, if you don't have film lights, go shoot in natural light. As a director, it's easy to get caught up in your vision for the project. So again, it goes back to not going overboard with your vision for the project, because it's easy to do that. I've done that so many times, and I'm probably still doing that. But not nearly as bad as I used to, because then, when you're younger, you have bigger, you're not limited by like budget restraints. You just have the imagination to create whatever you want and think, oh, you were just going to make this into a film. And then the reality hits you that you don't have the resources to make this the way that it needs to look. So really a big tip for directors, and really a lot of just filmmakers out there, know your limits, know where you're limited. And also something that really helped us as a team was knowing your skill set, was knowing exactly what you're good at, and me being able to place my siblings there. It's like when they figured out what they like to do and what they're good at, I just put them there and I left them there, and they thrived in it. And so that's important, is being able to delegate to people and find what they're good at, especially when you're younger. So yeah, that would be my biggest tip. I'm trying to think of any other tips. Something for me is your team comes first, always. Your project is the second most important thing. Your team comes first, who you're working with. I've made the mistake of making the project too important and kind of forgetting about the team, and that I'm supposed to lead them and be the encouragement for them, to tell them what a great job they're doing, at their jobs. Story time. On the Secunda Kapimov set, it's one of the problems that I was just saying. I was caught up in my vision of the way I wanted a certain scene to look. It was actually the beginning, opening scenes for the castle scenes where they're training in the arena. And I was very caught up in my vision. We hadn't filmed anything except that morning. So we filmed some running scenes out in the forest. They turned out pretty good. But we were directing a lot of extras that afternoon, and we got on set. Things weren't working out the way that we wanted it to. And we were filming things, and I was just not happy. Like, things were not turning. It was like turning out very, very poorly. And I was getting very discouraged. I was kind of letting that out on the team, and I just was not thinking things through. And so I was making a lot of decisions just out of kind of rash, I guess, thought, and just not thinking things through as much. We got done filming that day, and I was still really discouraged. And the team was actually trying to encourage me to say, hey, it's turning out fine, and I wasn't listening. And so it was, we were going to pick up our main actress from the airport, Isabel, he plays Eris. And we were on our way, and we stopped at a gas station to get fuel. And I was pumping gas, and it just hit me. God slapped me in the face and was like, Elijah, what are you doing? You are the director. You're the leader for this set. You're supposed to be encouraging your team. This is a project that you're directing, but I gave you the inspiration for it. So it was in that moment I was just like, okay, I've got to give this project over to God. And the way it turns out is the way that He wants it to turn out. Me, don't get caught up in my vision. Me, take care of my team, and God takes care of the way that it turns out in the end. So I let go of it that day. And it was good that it was the first day. I'm so glad. All the other days, I was so much more happier. I was just more joyful about everything that was going on. I didn't really care as much as if a scene wasn't turning out the way that I envisioned it. So again, that's a big tip, is take care of your team. I can see where if the director gets too caught up in his vision, he can get really discouraged if something's not turning out. When you're younger, when you have bigger aspirations too, of just the way that you want things to turn out. So yeah, your team is definitely number one. Your project, you'll make that project, but if you didn't inspire people on the set, if people weren't taken care of and people weren't encouraged on the set, that project's a fail.
That's good advice. That's a lot of good, and there's a lot of good advice in there. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry for the pause. I was just trying to make sure you were finished.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you.
All right. Yeah, that was really good. That was really good, actually. Okay, so we have one more question for Elijah. Probably should have mentioned this earlier, but if anybody else has any questions and they're watching on YouTube, go ahead and put it in the comments. Let us know, and then we'll get to that after this last question. So, all righty. The last question is actually kind of a me moment. Elijah, you have your me moment. So I know we kind of already touched on this, but basically what you're doing now, how people can look you up, find out about whatever your current projects or about your studio, and how could they become involved or support that if they would like to?
Yeah, okay. Well, we have a YouTube channel. Our production does. It's CITC Productions. It stands for Coming in the Clouds Productions. We're on YouTube. We have pretty much all our projects on there. So you can go and watch all of our stuff on there. And as far as just support of what we're doing now, the Kickstarter campaign that we had up, it's met its goal. Hero, the Kickstarter for Hero has met its goal. But anything that you can give to further that goal, to make us go over, it will help, because there's just a lot of in-between costs that we can't cover with just in that budget that we've raised. So it's on Kickstarter, and you can go to our Facebook page, CITC Productions on Facebook, and you'll find all the information for the Hero project on there. And you'll find the link to the Kickstarter on there as well as more information on it.
Alrighty, there we go. Okay. We have a question. How does it feel to be the first person to conquer the rapid fire round? That's the question.
Okay.
This was a big deal.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I've watched a few of you guys' YouTube stuff on it, and it was a big deal. It's like, oh, the rapid fire round, no one's ever conquered it. So yeah, it feels good to conquer it, to be the first. And now I'm setting the example for everybody else. It's like now you have to beat Elijah Perry, Yeah.
The bar. You are the bar now.
Yep.
Maybe we should send you a little trophy.
The world's greatest grandma.
Yeah, right there.
I'm not sure if y'all get that reference or not.
Not really.
It's from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Really?
Yeah, actually, we haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, okay.
We saw Ant-Man. We haven't seen the Ant-Man and the Wasp yet.
There you go. I don't even know what I've seen and what I haven't.
I'm here to tell her these things. That's what I do as a sister.
Sister support.
Another one? Okay. We've got another question. When during the directing process do you finally say, yeah, this is going to be great? When does that moment of success come?
Oh, during what process? I missed that part.
When during the directing process do you finally say, yeah, this is going to be great?
That's a good question. I guess if you're since I'm the writer for a lot of our projects as well as the director, I guess it's when the first idea pops into my head. That's always for me. Now, when it finally sets in, as far as just like the project gonna be made, it's like when we've actually got everything together, and like know what the locations are, know who the actors are, and everybody's going to be coming in like a week or something. It's like, this is just going to be so awesome. Like, here's all, everybody's going to be coming together finally, and we're going to be making it. But yeah, during the writing process, I have a lot of that where I'm writing it and then I get finished and I read through it. I'm just like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so excited. So yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, she also says, "What's on your sweatshirt?" That was the end of the question.
It's Wars of the Realm. It says a world of light, inches from the dark. It's one of Chuck Black's books, Wars of the Realm. It was written by Chuck Black, and he made hoodies for it.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that was a thing. I guess we know now. So everyone can run out and get those t-shirts.
Yep, get your merch, people.
This is not a sponsored video. Alrighty, okay. So I guess that will be it for now. We've got just quick mentioning the 2 comments we got were from Oatmeal Blonde and Diamond Sparkle. So thanks, guys, for commenting. That's really cool. That's really fun for us, especially for Elijah, I would think, to be able to communicate with you guys. That's cool. Okay, so that is it. We've reached the end. Thank you, everybody. That was great. Don't forget to check out Elijah's stuff. And Heather and I, we also have we're on 2 YouTube channels, actually. MediaRealming. We do reviews, challenges, stuff like that, usually centered around some kind of media topic because that's fun. And a little bit of like skits and stuff on another channel called Maristica Studios. So thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Elijah. Let's collab. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
And for the Kickstarter, that's
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and for everyone who joined us, that was fun.
We wish you success on your film and hope that it impacts other people's lives and it helps you. And hopefully that's just the first step to other great things. So
yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been great.
thank you. And we did this as in partner with Storytellers. So just so you have to mention Storytellers.
Look at their stuff.
Yes,
They have a network. Their job is basically to connect creators to each other and creators to their audience. And they have like a social media kind of section. So if you are a storyteller, any form, or like just really interested in that kind of thing, you can get on and talk about that stuff. So really cool. Alrighty.
Bye,
everyone.
Thank you, Elijah. So long.
I'll be to say goodbye.